Ada looked up to the well and held the mirror to look at the water. According to rumors, the town's magical old well could show the future when you faced away from the water with a mirror. The water reflected the light of the sky, making her a little dizzy. To Ada's surprise, the reflection in the water gradually became clear, resembling the figure of a man. The reflection seemed to confirm Ada's belief that Inman would soon return to her side. All she could do was to write letters, hoping that Inman, far from the battlefield, would see them. At that time, Ada, accompanied by her father, leaves the hustle and bustle of Charleston. The father of Ada is Mr. Monroe. They come at the church. Where to meet Inman. Ada is different from the women in the mountains. People gaze at her, and Inman is one of them. To win Ada's favor, he asked the neighbor woman for help, promising to help her with her farming after. It turns out that Inman has asked for it since the day Ada arrived in Cold Mountain. Ada generously pick up the drink and take the initiative to greet the man. Inarticulate Inman and Ada have some conversations. But faced with Ada's enthusiastic approach, found himself at a loss. Perhaps Ada was also intrigued by this quiet boy, so she asked if he had anything to say. But Inman pretended to be deep and silent. The next day Ada brought piano from the city back to the town. Coincidentally encountered the neighbor woman again. She earned the reward because Ada had spoken Inman. The woman explained that Inman was not cold by nature. He was a shy but gentle man, and she hoped Ada would be proactive. Ada was purposely passed by where Inman was working and began playing a piano piece from her cart. Inman was drawn to the music and stopped his work. An unusual feeling secretly blossomed in both of them. Soon the church was built. The pastor invited all the workers to celebrate at his house. After Ada played beautiful music to everyone, she noticed Inman standing outside, hesitating to come in. So Ada pretended to deliver wine and went outside to speak with him. Hearing that Inman was about to join the army and go to war, Ada wanted to stop him but couldn't find words. Instead asking his picture to remember him by without showing her sadness, just pretending not to care. Inman thought she was mocking him, but Ada reassured him she wanted to know more about him. Realizing he had been too sensitive, Inman cautiously apologized. The two slowly grew familiar with each other's personalities, and the way they looked at each other gradually changed. At that moment, she can't begin to imagine how was her life without Inman. He took the sheet music his father had left him and went to Ada's house to give it to her, secretly slipping his photograph inside. When Ada found it, she was deeply touched by this unintentional gesture. During church services, suddenly, a shout came from outside. War had spread to North Carolina. People don't know about war, but young men excitedly ran to spread the news. Only Ada was worried about Inman's safety, anxiously hoping for his safe return. On the morning before his departure, Ada gave Inman a book and a photo of herself. Looking at the photo in his hand, thinking of the uncertain path ahead, Inman couldn't hold back anymore and kissed Ada deeply. Watching her lover leave, Ada swore she would wait for Inman to return, not knowing that this wait would last for 3 years. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Inman missed Ada deeply. The yellowing photograph he held in his hand was only his motivation to continue. But war is always full of surprises. One second, the comrades are chasing rabbits in the trenches. And the next, a violent explosion suddenly strikes. Knocking Inman unconscious. He was lucky enough to survive. When he woke up, several positions had already been consumed by the flames of war. He struggled to crawl out of the dirt, gathered the scattered books and photographs. But that just then, the long-awaited enemy launched an assault. And the battle quickly escalated into hand-to-hand combat. Lively lives turned into cold corpses in the blink of an eye, and blood stained the earth. The agonizing moans of the wounded floated in the wind. In just one battle, countless comrades had died. He even witnessed people from his hometown die before his eyes. But the war was far from over. That night, Inman was ordered to stop the enemy. And while saving a comrade, he was tragically hit in the neck by a grenade and lost consciousness. He seems to think that he can return to his hometown. But fortunately, the bullet didn't take his life. However, because of the severity of his injury, he remained in a coma, constantly muttering Ada's name. Elderly father passed away in the fall, and the once bustling estate was left with only the lonely Ada. At that moment, the letter Ada wrote to him finally reached Inman after a year. The nurse was caring for him read the letter aloud to him. Tragedy plays out in every family in Cold Mountain. Her only hope was to visit the town notice board every day to see if she had received any letters from Inman, while also checking the list of fallen soldiers. Thankfully, Inman's name was never on the list, giving her the courage to keep going. Everyone is in trouble now. Unable to farm, Ada's food reserves dwindled, and she was reluctant to ask the neighbors for help. Come back. Inman, who has been in a coma until he finally got a response. He decided to desert and return to Ada's side to recover. The next morning, Inman decided to escape in the hospital. Meanwhile, Cold Mountain received an order from government stating that any soldier who fled would be charged with treason, and any family who sheltered or hid deserters would be considered accomplices. Ada, as usual, checked for news about Inman, but the response was still no news. Perhaps this was better, as it was meant Inman was still alive. The investment left by her father was pawning off one by one. Fortunately, the townspeople, many of whom had been helped by her father, often assisted Ada, allowing her to get by. On the way home, Ada happened to meet a neighbor woman. Seeing Ada's thin figure, the woman couldn't help but feel pity. She insisted on inviting Ada to dinner, and Ada happily accepted the offer. The two sons of the elderly couple went to the battlefield. There's also no news from them. The woman asked Ada why she didn't go live with relatives elsewhere, and Ada revealed that she had no one left. The neighbor uncle told her to try to look at the well water with a mirror. His wife used to do it. It is said that one can see the future. And here is where the story begins. beaten in the shadow. She saw Inman's figure walk towards her. She didn't know if it was her own hallucination. She felt like a crazy woman right now. Her heart told itself she must accept the fact that Inman will never return. She had to learn to survive on her own. While she was torn about how her life would go, a girl named Ruby showed up. A servant introduced by neighbor woman. At this point, Ada was no money to pay Ruby. But Ruby said she didn't need money. She just wanted a place to sleep and something to eat. But under the condition that she wouldn't treat it like a servant. In return, Ruby would help Ada cultivate the barren farm. The two quickly reached an agreement to get along better. The next morning, Ruby woke Ada early and took her to begin working on the farm. She taught her how to run a farm. With winter approaching, they needed to prepare food for the cold season. Ruby, being from a poor family, found the farm work easy. Under her guidance, Ada gradually became busier. At Ruby's suggestion, Ada sold the piano, which was no use for that time. So that they can buy seeds and few piglets for the farm. Though reluctant, surviving was the most important thing. Comfort each other with their own tragic experiences. In fact, Ruby was like mourning. Born without a mother. But unlike Ada, her father was an irresponsible guy. Ruby always neglected by her father. Even when Ruby was 8 years old. Left in the mountains by her father for half a month. Fend for itself. Fortunately, life survived. She did not care if her father died on the battlefield. Meanwhile, Inman's journey home was far from smooth. The long trek, combined with his untreated injuries, made it difficult for him to continue. The 400-mile journey home took him through swamps and deep mountains. Traveling by day was too dangerous, so Inman decided to travel at night. Not long into his journey, he encountered a suspicious priest. It turned out that the priest was planning to drown a slave because he had made the servant pregnant. Inman rescued the girl, tied the priest to a tree before leaving, and wrote down his crimes and made them public. It turned out that the tree bark and roots could fill the stomach. And the little crabs by the river tasted surprisingly fresh. But the road home wasn't just a fight against nature. He also had to face the army chasing him. Soon after, Inman was passing through a swamp when he met the priest again. Last time Inman exposed his evil deeds. It turned out that the priest had been kicked out of his home and lost his position. To avoid being captured and forced into the army, he had become a wandering vagabond. The priest told Inman that there was a ferry ahead, but it would cost a lot of money. To get home, Inman reluctantly agreed. Before she could finish, girl got shot. Fell into the river. The convoy that captured the deserters found them. Fortunately, there were no other ships. Inman and the priest temporarily escaped capture. They met a farmer on the west side. The other party suggested that as long as he helped him deal with the dead cow, he will definitely entertain them warmly for a hearty meal. And as it happened, the man took them home for a treat. After being drunk a lot, Inman realized they had come to the wrong place. The farmer seemed to have other intentions, but it was too late to leave. Soon, the escort arrived and arrested them. It turned out that the farmer had already seen that they were deserters. Secretly tipped off the army in exchange for the reward. Meanwhile, with Ruby's help, Ada's life was improving more and more. They even had extra supplies to give back to the neighbor who had helped them before. But this time, the neighbor was unusually cold. Not even following them to enter the house. They couldn't tell what went wrong. Just after Ada and Ruby left, the soldiers hunting for deserters arrived at the neighbor's house. Because the neighbor's 2 sons had become deserters. The army suspected they were hiding in the house. To force the neighbor to reveal the deserters, the militia cruelly killed the elderly father. And tortured the woman by pressing her hand onto a pillar. The 2 children hiding in the warehouse couldn't bear to watch anymore. And rushed out to try to save their mother. Just for a moment. All of them were mercilessly shot dead by the militia. Hearing the gunshots, Ada rushed to the neighbor's house with Ruby to check. All that was left was the tortured and dying neighbor's wife. They rescued the woman and took her back, but she had already lost the will to live. At the same time, Inman was also teetering on the edge of life and death. He was shackled and about to be sent to the battlefield. A warning came from a sentry ahead. The enemy was approaching. The militia captain ordered everyone to hide on a hill, and of course, the deserters did not want to miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and began to escape. The militia captain feared the sound of gunfire would alert the enemy, so he ordered the soldiers to put on bayonets. Just as the militia was about to catch up with them, the priest shouted, drawing the enemy's attention. The two sides immediately engaged in chaotic battle. Due to the difference in numbers, the battle quickly came to an end. When Inman woke up, there were no living souls around. He tried with all his might to escape, but was trapped by his shackles. He collapsed from exhaustion. Weak Inman felt in a trance that he had left the corpses. Just then, a shepherd carrying a long gun arrived and saved his life. After 2 or 3 days in a coma, Inman finally woke up. Granny didn't mind that he's a deserter, just to let him recover from his injuries. The old man killed her beloved goat to replenish his strength. And applied medicine to his wounds. Under her care, Inman's condition improved day by day. His injury improved soon after. Before he left, the old woman not only gave him a gun for self-defense, but also gave him a sheep for food. He continued his way home. Cold Mountain neighbor's wife was taken care of by 2 girls. One day, Ruby discovered that someone had stolen from the ancient warehouse. It was just the clumsy thief got his finger stuck in a wooden board. It turned out that the thief was Ruby's father. That she thought he had died in battle. However, because he had abused Ruby since childhood, Ruby didn't care about his life and death. Besides, he's a deserter. But the man said that the war had changed him, and he deeply regretted his past actions. Ruby gave him some food before quickly sent him away. The next morning, the man returned, and with his companions, they played beautiful music for Ruby. It turned out to be Ruby's father. He didn't lie. The estrangement between the women, It's melting away. It's almost a miracle in the eyes of lamentation. Ruby's father wasted his life. He found a way to redeem himself. Even if only limited redemption. Ada thought what happened to Inman. On a cold, rainy night, Inman accidentally arrived at a woman's small wooden house. Inside, there was only a hungry child and a poor wife who had lost her husband. Seeing her panic-stricken expression, the Inman pulls out his pistol but turns the barrel toward himself. Signaling that she can take the gun. However, the woman refuses his offer, for in that wartime era, weapons were the cause of destruction of many women and families. The woman's child has a fever. Her baby was crying all the time. After giving Inman some simple food, the woman leads him to the storage room to rest. Inman was soaking wet. The woman took her late husband's old clothes and put them on him. She sneaks into the man's room, hoping he will stay with her for the night. But she prays he won't go any further, only hoping to find peace in his warm embrace through this agonizing night. And so, two strangers lie in the same bed, with warmth of his body giving the woman a deep sense of security, as if her late husband had returned. The accumulated grief and hardships of life overwhelm her, and she can no longer suppress the tears that pour from her eyes. Inman slowly grips her hand, trying to offer her a bit of comfort. The two quietly spent the night together. The next morning, the woman realizes that the soldiers hunting for the deserter have quietly arrived at her door. She quickly wakes the man, urging him to escape through the window. Though Inman avoided capture, the cruelty of war had already made the soldiers abandon their old ways. In their desperation for resources, they dragged the woman out of the house. Stripping her infant of his clothes and forcing her to watch her child freeze to death. With no choice, the woman gave up her last bit of winter rations, but they did not spare her. Instead, they greedily pull her into the room, preparing to assault her. Unbeknownst to them, Inman returned and was creeping up behind them. Another person enters the house to check. The remaining soldier looked at the poor child, holding up a crying baby. This act moves the man, and he forces the soldier to strip. He was planning to let him go. But before the soldier could escape, he was shot and killed by the furious woman. And Inman secretly look at the woman. This is since the outbreak of the war. The most lively Christmas ever spent. Ruby's father with his musical companions. The neighbor woman who was beaten and stopped talking. Played happy music. It was a very happy night. Hoping for the war to end soon. Ada told Ruby to be sure to warn her father before partying. The stars in the sky were clearly visible that night. Ada recognizes Orion. That can be given to the returnee. Guiding bright constellation. New Year is coming. Ruby's father. Because the weather is too cold. He did not heed his daughter's warning. The three slept in the mill. They forgot to hit the snow and left footprints at first. Soon, the militia found their hideout on the mountain, following their footprints. One of the companions had escaped death by getting up in the middle of the night to use the restroom. Ruby's father tried to deceive the soldiers by claiming he was an artist from the town. But the fat guy accidentally revealed their identities as deserters. Afterwards, the two were asked to blow up side by side. The fat boy smiled innocently. The militia captain ordered him to cover his face. The militia ruthlessly killed both of them. And the Asian guy rushed down the mountain to deliver the bad news to Ada and Ruby. They quickly headed up to the mountain to check the situation. They found the body. Fat Boy was lying in the snow, already stiffed. Fortunately, Ruby's father was lucky, and the bullet didn't hit any vital organs, so he survived. The two of them brought the severely wounded father to a shelter in the mountains. Ada asked Ruby to take care of her father while she went hunting for food. As Ada was about to head back with the food, she unexpectedly saw a man's figure ahead. She quickly raised her gun to signal him to stay away, not realizing that it was Inman walking toward her. After years of waiting, the once delicate young lady had now turned into someone holding a rifle, warning him off. Cold Mountain's handsomest young man now had a full beard, looking like he was in his 50s or 60s. Making it hard for Ada to recognize him. When he was about to leave, It wasn't until she saw his familiar silhouette that deep memories were awakened inside her. When the man turned around, Ada finally recognized him as Inman. Ada calmly brought Inman back to his mother's house. Ruby was happy to Ada that she finally found his lover. That evening, the two finally had time alone. Ada asked him if he had received her letters. After was writing 103 letters, Inman said he had received 3. Ada then asked if he had written any letters to her. And Inman replied that he wrote whenever he had time. He told Ada that it was because of her that he had not fallen into darkness. Although they hadn't met often, those beautiful moments would appear in his mind thousands of times. When the conversation turned intimate, Ruby, understanding, quietly left the room. Inman made a promise to marry Ada. In this chaotic world, a simple straw hut there became rare wedding chamber. Overnight warmth. The next morning, they decided to part ways. Ada and Ruby would return home first. And then Inman would secretly take Ruby's father back. Lovers kissed goodbye. Just as Ada and Ruby were coming down from the mountain, they encountered the militia hunting the deserters. The guy from Asia was found by them. After being tortured, he revealed that Ada and Ruby went up the mountain to get the corpse. The militia announced that they helped the deserters planned to treat them as accomplices. Seeing her father's killer right before her eyes, Ruby was the first to fire. And both sides immediately engaged in a fierce battle. Luckily, Inman arrived just in time. Inman shot the leader. One soldier, seeing that things were turning against them, began to run. To prevent him from returning to report, Inman immediately chased after him. The two fired almost simultaneously. The gunshots echoed through the sky. The soldier was killed by Inman's shot. Ada heard the gunfire and she ran toward Inman's direction. Inman himself was struck in a vital area. Inman finally couldn't hold on anymore and collapsed into the snow. At the same spot where they had first met, Inman staggered toward Ada. Surrounded by crows, as if it was the scene from the old well's reflection. Soon after, the war ended. Ada chose to stay in this land, to remain in Cold Mountain. Ada and Inman's child grew up. Ada told her from an early age that her father was not a deserter, but a hero. Ruby also started his own family. The land held memories. It won't heal. And in understanding, what is lost will never be regained. What can be done? It's learning from the past. Make peace with it. Now when the call of the farm is more important than the pain in her heart. She will put his heart into it. In the rhythm of life of the four seasons. Later, Ada often thought of Inman, remembered their meetings. Her melancholic eyes, the smile that faded at the corners of her mouth. Looking at the sky, from the vast earth all the way to the gates of heaven. Finally, completely dashing. So the story ends.